When a simple sit-down flips into a full-blown showdown, you already know something is about to erupt. What should have been a calm, respectful talk between Nell and Latisha on love and marriage, Huntsville quickly spiraled into a heated exchange that left fans shocked and wondering, did this moment expose deeper cracks in their bond? Some viewers feel it was long overdue. Others argue the line was crossed. But one thing is certain, you've never seen Latisha like this before. And trust me, you won't want to miss what unfolded next. Welcome back to the channel, where we break down the biggest highlights, raw moments, and most talked about controversies from love and marriage, Huntsville. Today, we're diving into one of the most buzzed about scenes of the season, the sit-down between Nell and Latisha. What began as a supposedly calm conversation turned into a fiery clash that split the audience. Some fans call it a power play, while others see it as a complete collapse in communication. In this breakdown, we'll unpack exactly what went down during that sit-down, why the tension boiled over so quickly, and what it reveals about Nell and Latisha's complicated dynamic. From their tone and body language to the subtle shade many fans might have missed, we're covering it all, step by step. But here's the twist. What happened in that sit-down could carry bigger consequences for the group as a whole. This one moment has the power to shift alliances, test friendships, and even reshape the way cast members deal with one another moving forward. Stick around until the end, because the last part of this breakdown exposes one overlooked detail, and it might just change the way you view both Nell and Latisha after this episode. Now, to really understand why their conversation spiraled out of control, we have to rewind and examine the setup. Because the truth is, this sit-down wasn't just two friends casually clearing the air. It was loaded with history, unspoken frustrations, and the constant presence of reality TV cameras capturing every single move. From the very start, fans of love and marriage, Huntsville sensed this meeting wasn't going to be as smooth as it looked on paper. On one side, you had Nell calm, collected, but never one to hold back when she feels pushed. On the other side was Latisha, a woman fiercely protective of her image, her family, and her reputation, especially when she feels under attack or misunderstood. Putting those two energies in the same room was already a recipe for fireworks. The reason for the sit-down sounded straightforward: clear the air, address issues, and move forward. But longtime viewers know unresolved tension never just disappears, it lingers, it builds. And by the time Nell and Latisha finally agreed to talk, that tension had already been bubbling under the surface for weeks. Fans had noticed subtle digs, shady comments, and quiet moments of friction that neither of them ever fully addressed. And then there's the setting itself. On LAMH, whenever cast members sit down for these so-called peace talks, the atmosphere is never truly neutral. There's always the baggage of past conflicts, existing alliances, and the awareness that millions of viewers will analyze every word, every silence, every expression once the episode airs. That kind of pressure alone can shift how someone reacts in the heat of the moment. So when Latisha walked into that room, she wasn't just meeting with Nell, she was carrying the weight of old conflicts, her loyalty to her family, and the constant pressure to defend herself against even the slightest hint of disrespect.
Meanwhile, Nell showed up ready to speak her truth, determined to share her perspective without being drowned out, and to make it clear she wasn't going to dance around uncomfortable realities anymore. By the time the two exchanged greetings, the stage had already been set. Polite smiles, cautious words, and that unspoken feeling of, we're keeping it cordial. But not for long. That's exactly why fans who were really paying attention could tell from the very beginning that this sit-down wasn't destined to wrap up peacefully. And here's where things took an unexpected turn. What began as an attempt at open communication quickly transformed into a head-on clash of personalities, with neither woman willing to budge, and that's when things got interesting. Initially, the sit-down between Nell and Latisha almost had viewers fooled. Those opening exchanges came off calm, polite, even respectful. On the surface, the smiles seemed genuine, the tone measured. Both women looked committed to keeping things professional. But as anyone who follows love and marriage, Huntsville knows, a calm start usually masks the storm bubbling beneath, and this time, it didn't take long before that tension began to slip through. The breaking point came when Nell brought up what she believed was an ongoing pattern in Latisha's behavior. She didn't come in guns blazing, at least not at first, but her words carried a certain weight. She talked about feeling dismissed, overlooked, and at times even spoken down to in their past interactions. This wasn't about one isolated moment. It was about a buildup of smaller issues that had quietly piled up, leaving her feeling frustrated. And here's where it gets interesting. Latisha listened at first, even nodding here and there, but her body language painted a completely different picture. Her arms folded, her posture grew rigid, and her eyes narrowed. Anyone who knows her personality could see it unfolding in real time. That defensive wall was going up. To Latisha, those weren't just casual observations, they felt like direct accusations. And if there's one thing everyone knows about Latisha, it's that she refuses to let accusations slide. So when she finally fired back, the energy in the room shifted instantly. Rather than acknowledging Nell's feelings, she moved straight into defense. She argued she had never been dismissive, that people often misinterpreted her bluntness, and that maybe Nell was reading too much into situations. On paper, her words might sound fair, but in the moment her delivery came across sharp, almost dismissive, the very thing Nell had been pointing out. And that's when the sit-down really started to heat up. Nell pushed back hard, refusing to let Latisha's explanation sweep her concerns under the rug. She made it clear this wasn't about some simple misunderstanding, it was about the way Latisha's tone and actions had consistently left her feeling undervalued. By turning the focus back onto her own emotions, Nell stripped away Latisha's defense that it was merely a case of misinterpretation. By this point, both women's voices had grown louder. The pauses between their words grew shorter, and the thin layer of politeness holding their talk together started to unravel. What had begun as a calm discussion now felt like a tug of war in words, with neither side willing to let go of the rope. And while the tension was uncomfortable, it was also magnetic to watch. Fans tuning into the episode could feel the shift instantly. Social media exploded, some viewers rallying behind Nell for refusing to back down, while others defended Latisha for refusing to let herself be painted as the villain. Comment sections and timelines filled with debates over who was really in the wrong, and whether this clash was bound to happen from the very beginning. But here's where things took an even sharper turn. Latisha, clearly growing more frustrated, leaned forward and began questioning Nell's very motives for bringing this up in the first place. Was she really trying to resolve their issues, or was she just stirring the pot for the sake of drama? That jab landed like a spark on dry wood, because in the reality TV world, accusing someone of creating drama just for the cameras is one of the harshest shots you can take. From that moment forward, there was no going back. The atmosphere in the room grew heavier, the tension thick enough to cut, and viewers could see the strain written all over their faces. This sit-down had now fully shifted into a standoff. But the most surprising part wasn't that they clashed, it was how both women ended up exposing their own vulnerabilities in the process. And that's exactly what we're breaking down next. The unspoken emotions that bubbled up revealed more than either of them likely intended. Because when two people clash on love and marriage, Huntsville, it's really just about the words being said in that moment. Reality TV captures the arguments on the surface, but beneath that lies a web of emotions, history, and personal struggles fueling every line. And with Nell and Latisha, that emotional undercurrent was impossible to ignore. Let's start with Nell. Throughout the sit-down, she carried herself with a calm but firm energy. She wasn't the first to raise her voice. She didn't throw shade simply to be petty. But you could sense she came into that room with something to prove. For Nell, this wasn't simply about calling Latisha out, it was about finally being heard. Too often on the show, quieter voices get overshadowed by the louder, more dominant personalities. Nell seemed determined not to let that happen to her. She wanted Latisha to recognize that her words and actions had left a real, lasting impact. Even when Latisha tried to downplay it, Nell stood her ground. That persistence was rooted in emotion. Think about it. When someone feels dismissed over and over, it builds a sense of invisibility. It chips away at respect. Eventually, you reach a point where you have no choice but to reclaim your space. Nell's calm exterior was really covering that deeper frustration. Every word she spoke was an attempt to validate her own experience. Now on the other side, let's look at Latisha. For years, fans have watched her balance strength with vulnerability. She's protective of her family, fiercely loyal to her husband, and intent on maintaining a certain image of success and control. But with that strength also comes the sensitivity. Any hint that she's being dismissive, controlling, or disrespectful instantly hits a nerve. During the sit-down, Nell's words struck right at that nerve. Instead of receiving Nell's comments as a plea for understanding, Latisha seemed to take them as an attack on her character. To her, it wasn't "you made me feel dismissed," it was "you are dismissive." And the moment she heard it that way, her defenses shot up. That's why her replies came across sharp, almost combative. She wasn't just answering Nell, she was defending her reputation. Even in what was supposed to be a one-on-one conversation, what made this moment so captivating for viewers is that both women ended up exposing parts of themselves they probably never intended to. Nell revealed the depth of the frustrations she'd been bottling up, while Latisha showed just how sensitive she can be when her image is challenged. Neither was willing to back down, but in that refusal, they exposed their rawest emotions for everyone to see. This is exactly where reality TV heightens the stakes. In real life, a heated talk like this might end with both parties walking away to cool off. But on camera, every reaction is magnified. Viewers replay scenes, pause on facial expressions, and debate every single line. That kind of scrutiny adds an extra layer of pressure, and you could practically see it written on Latisha's face. She knew every word she spoke would be dissected later, and that only made her dig her heels in deeper. By the halfway point of this sit-down, the conversation was no longer just about clearing the air. It became about pride, respect, and controlling the narrative. Both women wanted to leave that room feeling like they held the upper hand, and that's exactly why things didn't just fizzle out. Instead, they escalated. And here's the part that most people overlooked. While everyone focused on what was being said, the real story was playing out in the subtleties, the glances, the shifts in tone, the body language. Those little details told a much bigger story about where Nell and Latisha's relationship might actually be headed. Because if you only paid attention to the words, it seemed like nothing more than a heated disagreement. But the truth is, the deeper story was happening between the lines through quick reactions, subtle shade, and the kind of body language that reveals everything about how someone really feels. One of the first signs of rising tension came through Latisha's posture. As soon as Nell began laying out why she felt dismissed, Latisha leaned back in her chair, folded her arms, and tilted her head slightly to the side. Body language experts will tell you crossed arms often signal defensiveness. And when you combine that head tilt with a smirk, all of a sudden, Nell wasn't just another cast member, she became the person viewers turned to for balance and truth. And in the world of reality TV, gaining that kind of recognition can shift everything. But beyond the reputations of the individuals, this clash also stirred up questions about the group dynamic. If Nell and Latisha can't meet in the middle, what happens to the people caught in between? On this show, friendships often operate like dominoes. When two people fall out, everyone else is forced to choose sides or risk being dragged into the fire themselves. That means this single sit-down could easily dictate who talks to who feels comfortable sharing the same space, and even who might form surprising alliances in the upcoming episodes. Fans online are already buzzing with predictions about how this moment will bleed into the larger storyline. Will Latisha double down and become even more guarded? Will Nell's boost in confidence push her to be more outspoken in group situations? And maybe the biggest question of all, how will the rest of the cast respond once they witness this tension firsthand? These are exactly the kinds of questions that keep audiences locked in week after week. And let's be real, the producers know precisely what they're doing. A sit-down like this isn't just a one-episode event. It's the spark that ignites drama for weeks, maybe even the entire season. Every reunion, every group gathering, every casual exchange from this point on will carry the weight of this clash hanging over it. That's the power of one single moment on Love and Marriage, Huntsville. It doesn't just entertain, it reshapes the entire playing field of the show. What began as a supposed peaceful meeting ended up exploding into one of the season's most dramatic clashes. Nell came determined to be heard, Latisha came ready to defend her image, and in the end, both revealed more about their personalities, their priorities, and the cracks in their bond than they likely ever intended. For fans, it was can't miss television. For the cast, it was a turning point that could permanently change how they relate to one another moving forward. And for reality TV as a whole, it served as the perfect reminder of why unscripted drama hits so hard. It's raw, it's emotional, and it leaves you questioning what could possibly happen next. Now, I want to know your take. Was Nell justified in calling Latisha out? Or was Latisha right to defend herself? Who do you think walked away stronger from that sit down, and what do you think this means for the group dynamic moving forward? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this is one debate that isn't dying down anytime soon. And of course, if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into love and marriage, Huntsville, and tap that notification bell so you'll never miss an update. Trust me, the drama is just getting started, and you're going to want to be here for every single twist.